Hi, my name is Shirley. I live in Honeybrook. I've raised pigs. That's not the embarrassing part. We raised a breed of pigs called Chester Whites on our farm in Honeybrook. They were genetically engineered to have extremely large asses. Okay. I was too, but nobody ever gave me a fancy name because of it. Now, I decided to raise pigs because I went through a year-long thing. Oh, did I mention it was the 80s? The 80s were the single most embarrassing decade known to man. Not just because of the fashions and the music, but because people like me spent the entire decade trying to better ourselves in some very odd ways. And I needed to decide whether I was A, an opportunity eater who just chowed my way through life, or B, I was a conscientious consumer of foodstuffs and only took into my body those things that fed me emotionally, spiritually, and physically. You can see how that's affected me. At any rate, the reason we got pigs was because I decided the best way to decide this dilemma was to raise an animal, have it butchered, and eat it. If I couldn't do that, I would stop being a hypocrite and I would become a vegan. And if I could, I would stay the omnivore that I am. Okay, so we have 4 Chester White piglets that come to our house, each weighing about 40 pounds. Approximately 6 months, 3,200 pounds of pig feed later, 2 tons of pig fecal matter later, after 3 tubes of sunscreen, because they don't tell you this about pigs, but they get sunburned. So I was rubbing, it was good to be my pig, because you got daily baths, you got sunscreen, you got breakfast in bed every single day. Also, the other payoff with the pigs was that my piggery was exactly 100 feet from my annoying neighbor's pool house. Now, all things come to an end. 6 months into this, I decide not only are these pigs large enough to go to the butcher, they each weigh now about 250 pounds, but I'm tired of them and I hate them because pigs are not nice, they are not clean, they're not intelligent, they are not any of those things that Disney would have you believe. Okay, so I decided it's time to go to, the pigs should go to the butcher. We don't call the pig mover who lives on our street. His name is Dougie. I told you I live in Honeybrook. Okay, we don't call Dougie. My husband and I decide that we can do this ourselves. We have a truck. We have a 4x4. So we put slats on the side of our F-150 and we build a ramp out of an old barn door and we back this up to the piggery and we wait for the pigs to get in. And they look at the ramp and they wander to the other side of the pig pen and look at the ramp. And one of them actually pooped on the ramp, but none of them would go up the ramp. So Charles and I climbed into the pig pen, wrestled Spam 1 up the ramp, then we dragged freezer meat up the ramp. Spam 2 was down at the bottom. Freezer meat and Spam are up in the truck screaming encouragement at the other 2. We dragged that one up, but by this time we figured out that the pigs, because of their enormous behinds, walk better backward up the ramp. So we shoved a bucket on Freezer Meat 2's face and pushed him up the ramp. So they're in the truck. Now all this pig tonnage has kind of messed up the ramp, and Freezer Meat, or Spam 2, I forget, one of them escapes past the ramp out onto the lawn. Now my husband and I at this point, it's raining. He's wearing overalls without a shirt. I'm wearing a denim jumper. We both are smeared head to toe with pig fecal matter, places where you wouldn't want your own fecal matter. And as we decide the best thing to do is to chase the pig around the lawn until it collapses from exhaustion. But what we found out was that a 250-pound pig, although short and round and fat, has a lot of stamina. Now, people have said that about me too. So I kind of associated with that. So we chasing the pig around the lawn, and at that moment, my son, who's a teenager, arrives home from school with 2 of his friends. He sees what his parents are doing on the lawn, and he goes by like this. They're drunk. Don't make eye contact. His friends, because we're not their parents, they think it's funny. So his parents, so they decide to help my son's parents and continue to chase the pig. My husband and the 2 guys, they managed to chase the 250-pound pig up a small incline. I'm down at the bottom of the incline. The 250-pound pig starts running at approximately 20 miles an hour down the incline. My husband screams, "Block him, Shirley." So I get into my blocking position, and the pig hits me right here. And I am projected in a perfect arc over his pointy head into a perfect seat on his back. I am now riding a pig backwards across my lawn. And my first thought was, I'm going to die. My second thought was, I'm not going to die. I'm 18 inches off the ground. This isn't the embarrassing part yet. We finally got this pig into the truck. He collapsed after about 3 minutes of carrying me around the backyard. And the boys and my husband were able to drag him up the ramp. It's dark now. We have spent so much time screwing around with this that the butcher has left. So we have to take these pigs to the butcher and drop them off in a stall he has left open for us. I've discussed this with my husband. I tell him he needs to mark the pigs so that the butcher knows who they belong to, and I'll write out the check. So I'm in the truck writing out the check. He's marking the pigs, and at one point I hear him, he's got a can of spray paint, he's marking them. And at one point I hear him say, because there's this single light hanging from the ceiling of this stall, I hear my husband going, "Go into the light, go into the light." At any rate, we get the pigs into the stall. They're all marked. We go home, we shower. I wake up the next morning and I'm feeling pretty good about this, okay, because I'm not emotionally attached to the pigs, and I'm kind of interested in seeing how this all turns out. So I call the butcher in the morning and I say, this is Shirley, I'm just checking on my pigs. And he goes, "Oh, lean and clean, Mrs. VanScoyk. Those were good pigs." And I said, "Oh, good." I said, "I'm glad. That makes me feel really proud." I said, "So you didn't have any trouble telling which pigs were ours?" There's like dead silence. And he goes, "Well, Mrs. VanScoyk, yours were the only pigs labeled pig." Thank you very much.